We are here this morning to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is measurement. And I would say that in probably 99% of my client meetings, measurement comes up as a key challenge and conversely a key opportunity. So I am incredibly fortunate and excited to speak with these two subject matter experts about that topic in particular. So with us today, we've got Dana Shank. Dana is the Senior Director of Marketing Transformation and Ops. She essentially gets stakeholders aligned to drive transformation within the entirety of the Kellanova organization. I think most folks in this room know how challenging stakeholder alignment can be. So I'm excited to hear her point of view on the topic. And then we've got Fredda Rodriguez. She is the head of media for the Americas at Intel. I would say that Fredda is a B2B marketing maven. She consistently pushes the envelope in terms of the art of the possible, especially related to measurement, to the extent that sometimes even at Zeta, she throws us on her heels a little bit in the best of ways. So let's dig right in, ladies. Let's get started. Some measurement is used for learning, and some measurement is used for proving. I'm going to start with you, Fredda. I would like to hear you unpack how you approach both types of measurement, and I would also have a follow-up question. How do you balance measurement rigor with experimentation? Because that balance can sometimes be tricky.
Yes, and thank you for that amazing introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. This is one of my favorite topics because I think is very important when it comes to media and measurement because it's controversial, right? I feel that learning is fast while proving is slow, and especially for B2B, but you need both. So we spend a lot of time trying to balance both at Intel because you need both. And I also feel like it's living in two time zones, right? One is for agility, while the other one is for investment. Mm-hmm. So I think in the last 3 years, we have spent a lot of time trying to balance both. And I think one of the most amazing things we've done in the last 3 years was, in the last 2 years, was implementing that universal pixel with you guys, because I think it was a life game changer for our hero business campaigns. The fact that we were able to see in real time the leading indicators and actually segmenting that audience based on hot, warm, and cold, and then being able to optimize in real time with the informed decisions, because we're always trying to do digital media optimizing in real time, but this was actually understanding the behavior of those audiences through the campaign, and then being able to take retargeting to a next level with that one-on-one retargeting messaging, life-changing, plus all the efficiencies that come with it. Yeah. So it's always a plus.
And for everyone's edification, what Fredda was discussing is over the past year, we have placed a pixel on Intel's website, and what it allows us to do is take unknown site visitors, make them known, and it helps us with lead scoring, and we can measure in near real time the impact of the models that we've created from that universal pixel and the lead scores that we've assigned to disparate audiences. So I love that example, Fredda. Dana, I'm going to ask you the same question. Sure. We've got a learning versus proving agenda. Talk to me about how a massive organization like Kellanova navigates that.
Well, first of all, anytime you go to research, you need to come with a very formed hypothesis. You need to come with questions that are informed by data, that have some specificities. So as you're thinking about what are you going to learn, are you going to prove, you need to have a scientific hypothesis, if you will. It's important for us to look at both. You need to be able to prove, you need to be able to learn. And really, dependent on where you're at with your brand journey and your campaign, is going to drive what that balance is. Are you looking to prove in terms of you've changed your marketing mix, you need to look at MMMs, you need to look at sales lift, understand the impact from your marketing investments? Or are you looking to learn? Are you looking to learn more about your consumer, better understand who you should be targeting, what will resonate with them, what insights you have that can help drive the creative. So I would say within our organization, it's always important to have a balance of both, but always important to come to the table with smart questions that you're looking to measure.
I have a follow-up question for you, Dana. We were talking about this just outside. I was wondering if you have a point of view as to whether at a large enterprise like Kellanova, if it's quote unquote better to have one central team handling all measurement, or should measurement really be integrated into each part of the marketing organization and then potentially siloed a bit? But I would love your point of view on that.
I mean, I think measurement is important to absolutely be embedded into the organization. I think it's kind of a balance of both, though, too. You want measurement deeply embedded into the brand team, the teams working on that business challenge, whether it's looking to prove, looking to learn, somebody who deeply understands what the business challenges are and what they're trying to solve. And so to have that either embedded within a business unit or a category team or somebody allocated directly to that, I think is very critical. But I do think it's also valuable to have that central expertise, particularly as we're in a world where everything is continuing to iterate and change and grow, certainly within retail media networks, which are huge for CPG. We need to have folks who are constantly learning, helping guide the organization around what partnerships we should be learning, what we should be piloting, exploring. And that can take away from some of the day-to-day focus. So you need that team that's both somebody allocated to the brand business challenge, but also some smart leadership to help push the envelope and push us forward.
Like many of the things we're talking about today, the answer is yes and. Intel, Fredda. I would like to dig a little bit into one of our favorite topics, which is account-based marketing. Any B2B marketers in the room know how painful and satisfying account-based marketing can be. Account-based marketing is typically tied to account-level measurement, so measuring at the company or account level. Intel is pushing that boundary quite a bit in meaningful ways. So you're shifting from measuring the impact your campaigns and marketing initiatives have on companies or accounts to measuring the impact that your campaigns have on people or identities within those companies. So really pushing the envelope in a cutting edge way. I would love you to walk the audience through that transition and what you believe that's going to unlock for Intel in particular.
Yes, it's a lovely, challenging subject for all of us. But I think the real challenge comes from the recent research shows that, we went from 5 people buying committee to a 15 plus. And then we have, in that committee, or buying group as is defined now, we have millennials to baby boomers. And all that is within that, demographic difference, that is not just how they consume media, but it's also what role they play in that committee and where are they in their career. It's just very different. So our intention with ABM and going beyond the account level is top priority for, as you know, and everyone that works with us know, ABM is a priority for Intel, and we're very focused on those accounts. But we need to go further to the contact level. Why? Because we need to identify, and that's how, again, all the work that we've been doing with Zeta, and that's why we focus on trying to partner with only those media or data companies that can provide that extra layer of behavioral understanding. And the plan is to go beyond even with sentiment measurement that you guys are providing now in second half, knock on wood, and try to really do an omni-channel persona message triggered campaign so that we understand what they're engaging with, when, and that way provide real input to our sales team.
Yeah. Forum fills can be disastrous or really challenging, I should say, for ABM marketers. So it can, cut the funnel off at the knees when an identity or an individual is not willing to fill a form. So using that identity-first approach to unlock trigger-based nurture messaging without the use of a form fill at the ID level is something. I think it's going to be the content of case studies here in the future, and I'm excited to be part of it and here for it.
And finding that link between paid and own channels to trigger that non-form fill it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I hope that we do it right.
Okay, Dana, I'm going to start with you for the next question. And I know it was broached in the previous panel by Nicole and Ed on the Bimbo side. But I do want to touch upon lagging indicators because it's just the topic of conversation, in our industry across the board, B2B or B2C. So much of the industry still is entirely reliant on lagging indicators. So MMM and brand lift studies arrive sometimes weeks, if not months, after campaigns have wrapped and culminated. So almost what good does that data do for you now? So let's talk about leading indicators, leading data. So signals that can inform your strategy and your activations in near real time while those activations are still evolving so that they can have like an iterative effect. I would love for you to talk about what Kellanova right now is doing in the leading indicator space and maybe how, if you want extra credit, how you're balancing between leading and lagging indicators.
Yep. Great question. So definitely, again, the industry is always changing and always iterating, and excited to continue learning in this space for our brands. So from a leading indicator standpoint, a leading indicator is valuable for us if it's predictive, right? To help us understand if a consumer is going to purchase. And we've done a lot of work of kind of testing and learning in this space. One of the areas that we have learned is that the video view in view from a social standpoint is a leading indicator for us in social, and is one that is moderately performs for us. I think we're always careful, when I work with my analytics friends, of not using extreme words. But it is one that has performed for us and is one that we look to. I think our challenge is that as we continue to work with the walled gardens and with our platforms, is that a lot of the traditional media metrics of click-through, et cetera, that when we look to compare back to sales, we're not able to generally compare back to sales on a macro level. It's certainly very challenging for CPG on an individual level, unless you're a DTC type of brand.
Yep.
So, but we believe, a balance, since we're not all the way to bright in terms of leading indicators, but, there are some that we've been testing and learning into, and some that we found can be a leading indicator for us, but definitely important to have that balance.
Fredda, what about you and Intel on the leading indicator front? I feel like you've been leaned into that conversation quite a bit.
Yes, and historically, Intel has always been very into our own brand, corporate brand trackers, besides all the external partners that can provide the brand lift studies. I think that the turning point for us was last 2 years when we did our brand to product campaign with that amazing dashboard live halo that you guys designed for us. And the reason being, going back to proving and proofing, is Intel had always had brand campaigns, but they were always consumer oriented. This was the first time when we say, okay, let's do a brand campaign for our business audience, for our tech leadership. And how is that going to impact in proving this to leadership, proving this to ourselves, Yes, we do need that halo campaign to influence the product campaigns. And that was amazing. And to your point, that was so interesting to learn and prove, because we did it with consumer as well. We had the consumer campaign, we had the hero B2B campaigns, the brand campaign as a halo, and we proved the lifting, but also we were able to see format, creative, and what was the other one?
Channel?
The placement. And the placement, and that was just so important to understand what was working, what wasn't working. It turned out everything was working. Everything was influencing our product campaign. So I think that, and by the time we got our, corporate, that was another type of intelligence that we needed. But for the day-to-day investment-wise, it was key to have both.
You bring up one of my favorite topics, which is brand to demand, and the halo effect that a brand campaign can have on lower funnel product conversion. So Dana, I would like for you to touch upon this a little bit. How, obviously B2B in particular and B2C struggle to unify that brand building, those brand building activities with performance metrics. it's tougher, I feel like, for you guys because you don't own your point of sale data. So, and right now I don't think there's really a holistic RMN measurement solution. So tell us how you can connect, or you do connect, top funnel with lower funnel, or MMM with MTA, or whether or not you're testing new solutions that might unlock the power of that?
Yeah, no, you certainly addressed our challenge of that, we don't have our sales level data, we don't have impression level data generally tied back to an individual from the platforms. We have tested and piloted with MTAs. Again, kind of a learning lab mentality I think is important within the organization. Through that initial test, it didn't, model very well. Where we're focused right now is exploring a unified solution for RMN, and even looking at that as like a secondary wave through MMM. We also are working specifically with our retailers to do retail-specific MMM. We've piloted some solutions with some retailers, with varying degrees of success. But important for us to continue to learn in this space. Again, retail media is in its infancy, and there's not a lot of consistency, which impacts the types of solutions, that we can leverage. One of the other challenges that we have is...
That's your analytics team. Got coming for you.
Always challenges. Two other challenges with retail media that kind of impact our ability to bring it back up together and compare that low funnel versus upper funnel. Our spend in retail media, as it's growing, a lot of it still is in the search space, which is generally always on.
Yeah.
And it is difficult to get a read out of that search activity when it's always on. You see the models will generally look at the lifts better when you have a variance in terms of spend and activity. And so as we're putting a lot into search, as we're being guided by the RMNs, it's hard to get that full read in terms of performance. And then lastly, like a lot of our activity in retail media networks is frankly multi-brand. And so it's very hard to tie it back to the upper funnel activity of a single brand. We generally don't do many portfolio campaigns on an equity standpoint, but yet on a retail level, we're doing a lot of portfolio activities. So some challenges there, but we are pressing forward, continuing to learn, and trying to find those solutions that will work for us.
We've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. I am really keen, Dana, on asking you about household penetration. CPG, measuring household penetration, and the challenges inherent in maximizing household pen comes up quite a bit for us with our CPG conversations. It's obviously the most reliable predictor of brand growth. It is notoriously difficult to influence at scale, and it's hard as heck to measure. So talk to me about how your team is evolving your approach to household penetration measurement in a world where this purchase data is sort of locked away inside the retailer ecosystems. I would love to hear what you're doing there.
Yeah, I think it's important, in this space, yes, penetration is important for us. I think some folks, we absolutely embrace Byron Sharp and his philosophy relative to how brands grow and the importance of penetration. But I think sometimes there can be people can take it so far as that it's only about new buyers. And for us, it's important to respect it's about total volume and thinking about that in terms of the total measurement. So for us, household penetration remains important, but it's about the total volume. And so as we're also looking to grow in this space, important for us to have data partnerships that help us understand that total volume. So whether it's with a Nielsen and a more holistic panel where we can truly understand total sales impact, like in C-store and more of that immediate consumption. Important for us to have a blend of partnerships with folks like Circana that can help us get at that sales incrementality as well.
So can you measure who is buying, not just how much is sold? Are we still in the how much is sold era?
We just don't have that granular data, in terms of impression level data relative to that sales data. So
something for us to solve for. All right, the final question I'm going to ask both of you. I will start with Fredda as quickly as possible. What advice do you have to other senior marketers like those in the room trying to build measurement cultures that go beyond last click mindsets? I'm surprised by how often I'm still met smack in the face with last click mindset.
Yeah. I think that to me will be we need to continue showing how media is a feedback loop, right? It shouldn't be just a line spent, but for that we need discipline and orchestration, and that should be a hypothesis, as you started the conversation. A hypothesis and the testing, the learning, the validate, act, and go back again. And go back again, and go back and continue, because it continues evolving. Thanks to partners like you, it will evolve and it will continue giving you more information, but we continue that loop.
15 seconds, Dana, no pressure.
No pressure. I mean, I think
it's 20.
It's about a learning lab mindset and culture at your organization, and really pushing that in terms of continuing to learn. It's about a metric mindset throughout the campaign. It's not just last click, but it's from the start. It's metrics around insights. It's metrics around your marketing mix. It's metrics around the individual performance of the campaign. So you need to think holistically about it all.
Wonderful. Okay, I think we are all set. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.